All right. I am not at the right thing. All right, everyone.
You're live.
We're having yeah, I know I'm live and I'm not doing the countdown already. One of these days, I'm going to get this thing right. This time I went live before I put the countdown on. So, all right. It's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I love. I don't like that daylight savings time. It's 5 p.m. on the West Coast, and we're live. We've been live for a little longer than I wanted to. Welcome, adventurers. I'm your guide, Sean McZoo, and this is the Reptile Show reporter. Bill Strand is elsewhere tonight. He's at Aquarimax, if you don't know, but hopefully you won't leave this to go there. Two Turtle Tom has agreed to fill in for me today. Thank you very much. Tonight, we're discussing the Saline Reptile and Exotic Animal Expo. We are blessed to have the promoters, both Brandy and Jared, although Brandy hasn't got here yet. This is Jared right here. And all right, we're going to do the video here, and we'll come back. All right, I could actually do that where we weren't there, but you wouldn't see us dance, and we dance so well that you don't want to miss that. But anyways, all right, Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Great. All right, so let's see. First, Tom, do you have any announcements?
Well, tomorrow night I'm going to be doing a fun live, also at 8 o'clock on YouTube on the Two Turtle Tom live show. I have Mike Hasselbring and Ken Smith, Turtles and Tortoises in Hawaii. They both live in Hawaii and raise turtles and tortoises.
All right, great. Jared, any announcements from you?
Next show is March 2nd, so already getting prepared for it.
All right, can't wait. Looking forward to it. All right, let's see. Podcast number 15. Keith Gisser, Herps Alive, is live now. It's on Spotify, Apple, Audible, and all those other podcast locations. Podcast 16, which will be coming up next Tuesday, will be Adeline Robinson Art. I met her at Tinley. And Pillars 1 through 4 this week have all been about the Saline show. 4 was the show itself. 2 was you have to look one of the vendors, which actually I have a picture of today. And 3 today was actually the people who I promised a shout out, XP Crafters, both Sarah and Aaron. And I'm going to put their one of their pictures up. I only took one picture of their booth. They have all these cool 3D printed stuff. This is a 3D printed Star Wars battleship, so it's really neat. And I actually purchased this. This one. So I got it. And I may give it to my son. I probably shouldn't say that live on the air for his birthday, which is just about a month away, but I won't. Maybe I won't. All right. Let's get to the chat. We've got 11 chats already. Holy mackerel. What are we doing here? I'm way behind. All right. So that's me. And James Cross, we're going to go and show James. Let's go back to the thing. Here we go. James, thanks for being here. All right, there's James. All right, back to the comments. Who's next? Let's see. Eliza Ann is apparently here. And there she is. Hello, Chamley. All right. Speaking of Chamley, I'm going to have to talk about a threat that came to me and my Chamley in just a second from a group that should not be named. But we'll talk about that in a moment once we get to this point. But
dark stuff going on.
In the community. Secret stuff. A lot of stuff going on in the reptile community. There is Eliza, and I forgot where my comments are at. All right, let's see. Palette Panther. I don't know who you are, but you've been here before, so you've sent us a picture. And we'll and CNC Tortoise. I haven't got a picture from you either, so we need to get that.
It's
Oh
Mike
no,
Chan.
a threat. Yes. Let's see. Lately, let's see. Am I missing anybody here? I don't see anybody else. Oh, H&H Pythons. I don't know who that is, but actually, are they one of the people at your show, Jared? I don't know. Okay. I think we lost Jared there. Oh, and there's Brandy. So, all right. So I'm going to bring Brandy on here. And Jared.
Hi.
Hey, hi, Brandy. We just started a show, and we've been talking about the show. Jared was here before, and he disappeared, and it was if like you're like two different people, but you're not two different people. So, oh, there you
Oh,
are, both
he's
at once.
back
I
on.
saw you both at
There we
once.
go.
You had to quickly leave, but I actually saw the two of you together, so you're not the same person. But all right, Brandy, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. We're going to go through a few more things, but first, I want to talk about the threat that happened to me and my family. So today, I got a piece of mail that it's, this is all unjust. It said there was no return address, and I got a shirt in the mail and a letter that said, "Dear McZoo, if that is your real name, and we know it's not, the Illuminati have seen you mention us several times, and if we exist, and we're not confirming this that we do, we'll give you two options: one, join us, or two, face the consequences." And they said you have 48 hours to comply. This is the shirt that came in the mail. Let's see,
Hmm.
let's see, where's the shirt right here? I put it on. Oh, I didn't actually upload it. A minute. Let's see. It's right. It's not here. Okay. I'm going to actually
This is
upload
kind
the
of
shirt
nuts.
right now. So
The
here was
stuff.
the shirt. And I know Bill Strand also got something very similar from the Illuminati. He's a chameleon guy. And this is actually the shirt, which came. And the
Hmm.
letter itself actually had a seal on the letter. And with ink. This is wax, I think, or something. And I had to open it. So that's out there. I have to decide. That came today. So I'm thinking I've got 48 hours to decide. I'm thinking I'm going to decide yes, because I don't know what the issues are. But anyways,
Hmm.
we'll move on from this. But I just want to make sure everyone else was aware. So if I disappear at some point, we know what happened. Illuminati got me. All right. So let's get back to the show itself. All right. Anything else? Brandy, do you have any announcements to make for the team out here?
Well, come the March 2nd show, we will be having two buildings in use, and we will be basically doubling the amount of vendors that we will have at a
Wow.
typical show.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Jared
did he
coming in
disappear
and
again?
coming out, but
He's got
but,
really bad service over where he's at, so
mhm.
it's probably gonna happen
well,
often.
You're probably the spokesperson for the thing, anyways. You're at least the social media person, right? So
Yeah, I do a lot of social media for it.
all right. Can you formally introduce yourself so that everyone knows who you are and what you're up to?
Oh yeah. So I am Brandy. I am one of the promoters for both the Jackson Reptile Expo, which we are bringing back, and the Saline Exotic Animal Expo. I really wanted to start up a show for honestly like a few years before we actually started the Jackson show. Sorry, I'm a little tired. It's been a long day.
That's okay.
But
It's been a long day for all of us, so we understand.
yeah. But anyways, so I had an idea that I wanted to start a show. And the reason why is I went to the Taylor show for quite a few years, and I loved everything about it. I loved all the animals. I loved connecting with people and stuff like that. And so I'm like, I want to do the same. And I know for me personally, animals bring a lot of joy into my life. These reptiles mean the world to me. When I'm having a really rough day in particular, they bring me a lot of peace. And I know my family, they think I'm a little crazy with all of them.
Jared is back, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do. But
The connection's
anywho,
not super good.
yep, called it. But anyways, I had seen how my grandma interacted with my reptiles, and like 10 years ago, she wouldn't even touch one with a 10-foot pole, okay? And I got her to where she's got like my gecko crawling all over her face. She's nothing but smiles and laughing, and she loved it. So I'm like, that's it. I want to bring this to the people too of Jackson, when we initially started. And it's just really grown from there. And when we received some news about halfway through last year that we would no longer be able to use the building that we were in, because they wrote a permanent contract with another company. So we had to figure something out really quick. And we found the Saline, the Washtenaw Farm Council grounds. And so we moved the show there. But we've had such a high demand to bring a show back to Jackson that we're also doing that also. But there's only going to be 4 shows in Jackson for this year.
Okay, that's great. So I just want to shout out a couple other people. Anna Ballistics here; she's been here a lot. And Chris from Zev's Green Reptiles is here as well.
Hey, Chris.
I had a picture of Chris, so we'll put him up here. Where is my picture of Chris? I got too many pictures here. So
good.
All right, there's Chris. I think you might know him. He was shown at the Taylor show.
Yeah, he was at our show once too. So really nice guy.
Yeah. He was one of the people that told me about your show and to go. The people
I
who
appreciate
really were D&D Cresties, but
yep.
Okay, but let's see. Get rid of this thing here. I'm not working I'm not working the other stuff very well either. So let's see. All right, so there we go. All right, so I got everybody. We got all the questions and answers. Heidi McCarty. All right, can't wait to the March 2nd show. Going to be a great expo. All right, so this is something somebody you might know, huh? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Okay. So, when did you start doing shows, and how did you decide that?
Okay, so backtracking to when I was in high school, now I put on my very first expo when I was 18. It was actually a senior project, and it was a animal adoption event. And so at 18 and a senior in high school, I put my mind to it and got it going, got a lot of the donations and stuff in to be able to rent the building and get the expo going on so animals could hopefully get homes and get adopted and stuff like that. And so that's kind of where it started. But afterwards, several years down the road, I want to say it's 24, 23. So in 22, I held the first Reptile Expo in Jackson. And we were just kind of using it as to test the waters and see if it would actually work and if there was enough interest in it, because there's a lot that goes into putting these shows and stuff on. So we wanted to see if it was going to be worth it, and because we want to make sure it's worth it for our vendors who are attending and whatnot. So that show went really well. We had over 500 in through the doors that first show. So we're okay, let's get this going. And we booked out the entire year afterwards in 23, minus a couple shows because due to availability. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there.
So 18 years old, were you saying that was just a few years ago?
Yeah, so I'm 20. I'm going to be 26 this Sunday, actually. So this was 8 years ago that I put my very first show on, and it wasn't a reptile show, but
actually I'm more than double your age. But anyways, all right.
But yeah, so that was the first time I ever put any kind of expo on, and so I'm well, if I can do it at 18, I can do it now, So with the help of, I did have a previous co-organizer, and just due to some personal things, we decided to go our own ways. And then I brought Jared and his girlfriend Sabrina on, and it's just been relatively smooth sailing since. So But yeah, I mean, honestly, I couldn't do it without them. They're just fantastic people, and there's just so much that goes into these shows. And like, I mean, I could do it myself, but I'd probably be going a little crazy trying to do it myself. So I'm super thankful to have them as my co-promoters and to do these shows and stuff like that with.
So either Tom or I, at least I don't think Tom have actually done a show. Tell us what's involved in promoting a show.
Oh gosh. First there's the advertising, because if you don't get the people in through the doors, you're not going to have happy vendors. So there's a lot of cross posting that goes on through, I swear, every time I do any sort of cross posting, I am doing 30 plus pages every single time. And that's just to hopefully spread the word as much as we can. And then we go into the paid advertisements, and we put a lot of money into those paid advertisements because that's really what's going to reach people basically everywhere, right? And we, I select the groups that, like, the targeted audiences. So I'll put in keywords. So if people have looked that up in the past, it will go, hopefully pop up on their page at some point. And then I'll put in a bunch of different locations all throughout Michigan, even Ohio. I have it in there as a targeted audience because it's close enough. Mm-hmm. So we do that. And then we have to remake signs, but signs are also another big way to get people in. We used to do surveys at the Jackson show last year, and 25% of all the people coming through the doors were always from the signs and not like Facebook or word of mouth. So,
wow. Yeah, see the signs and just come in.
Yeah, like you'd be surprised because it's always been consistent. 50% by like online social media platforms, 25% by word of mouth, and 25% through signs. And it's always been really consistent like that. I mean, we did something through the radio at one point. We paid the money to do some radio ads. We were live on the air on the radio at one point. And honestly, it didn't make a huge difference. We did a survey that time and maybe had like 20 people say they heard us on the radio. So it was kind of one of those things that we wanted to try it out and just kind of see where it got us. And it didn't really, at least the first time, it didn't make a big difference.
So I know you talked about promoting, but what goes into just choosing the site, choosing vendors? How do you get it all?
Okay, so sorry, I took your question a little too literal. So what goes into that is you got to look at the area, right? You got to see how many people are there, the affluency in the area, because if there's not a lot of money, in that particular area, there's not a huge chance that you're going to get a lot of sales, right? So that's something that you have to take into account is just like the audience that you're going for in that area, right? And obviously population density is another thing. If you're in a smaller town, you're probably not going to pull a lot of people in. So when we chose Jackson initially, it's a really decent sized city. It's very central, right? So you got Lansing, you have Ann Arbor, you're close enough to like Battle Creek too, and even the like other states like Indiana and Ohio. You're very central in that.
So we Jackson, chose that. I'm not familiar with Jackson. Is it west of
so
Detroit?
It's about here. It's like southern central Michigan, basically. Okay. It is about 35 minutes south of Lansing.
Okay.
So it's like west of Ann Arbor.
Huh?
Due west of Ann Arbor.
Yes, due west of Ann Arbor. So basically where we're at.
So, okay.
Yeah, so where we were at this past weekend, you're like 30 minutes west and you're in Jackson.
Okay.
So not too far.
The Saline show is an hour, 2 hours, a little bit more for me. So I came up the night before just so I could, because I went to the Reptile again afterwards. Had an awesome.
I love that place.
I got this T-shirt. I had the T-shirt from before, but I went to the Reptarium, had a great time there. We actually looked at the sloth, got up close and personal with the sloths, and now we know why they call him sloths. They didn't do anything. He kind of barely rolled his eyes and acknowledged us, but it was worth doing. It was my daughter really wanted to do it, so she's 17, going away to college next year, so we had to do that for her. But we didn't buy any reptiles for the first time in a long time at the show. I mean, I bought a lot of things. I bought a lot of things I didn't have to feed or care for. I bought that. I bought a lot of bugs. I bought a bunch of different stuff. I bought feeders for all kinds of stuff. So I did spend a couple $100, but I didn't buy anything.
It's easy to do.
Yeah, it's hard for me to do that kind of stuff. I'm going to shows almost every weekend or 3 weekends out of 4, and I'm looking at all these animals. It's like, I can't do it.
Dude, that is one of the hardest things about running a show is not coming home with something new, which I fail to do most of the time. So,
all right. So you decide where to get it. You decide where to put it. How do you choose vendors?
So we have a very strict like rules and regulations that we set for our show. As far as I know, so I've never been a vendor at shows. I am getting more into like reptiles as far as like wanting to breed and stuff like that, but I've only ever just owned them as like pets. But Jared has been a vendor for some years now. So he's really good at knowing who's around, like who you can trust, like who you should probably watch out for. So I definitely rely on him a lot to know names more than I do, as I'm still getting to know more people in the community myself. But anyways, back to the rules and regulations. We have like set guidelines, like you have to, your animals have to be healthy. If they look like subpar, we will ask you to remove the animals from the table. And if it's a continuing issue, we'll also probably not have them back at the show, because we want to keep high standards. We want people to be able to come to the show and be able to trust that the animals they're getting aren't going to die in a week. Like I've been to some shows, and I'm not dissing on other shows, but there's some vendors in particular I would stay far away from. And we do have a no vend list where we, have certain names on there that are not allowed to be at the show due to various reasons. And so that's just part of how we keep a higher standard. And if we don't know someone, like their name, like super well, they can come to the show. We give them a chance. If they do really well, their animals look really good, then they can keep coming back. But if they come and there's something just a little off, we keep a more watchful eye and stuff like that on them too.
Jared was telling me Saturday that you guys look at the vendors and you look at the show, you look around and look at all the tables before you open the door, and you do whatever needs to be done before you open the door. I mean, I've been a vendor for at least only one show down in Medina, which is all Cleveland show. But I've been to lots and lots of shows, but it's really neat to hear that people are going to take care, make sure there's no sick pets, because I've gone to many, many shows where there's obviously sick things that aren't going to make it even home. And I just get freaked out. And it was really neat. I saw one of your vendors. This is them. I'll see if it's Dominic's
Ethan,
and they have a sign where they actually definitively tell you whether it's captive bred, farm bred, wild caught, or long-term captive, which I thought was really neat. I mean, I didn't buy any. I was going to buy something from them because I wanted to support them, but I'm like, I don't need any more animals in my house. Even when it comes to chameleons, I think I have, I won't give you the number, but it's double digits and it starts with a 5.
Oh, hey, honestly, that's only like 5. Let's be honest.
All right,
you got 10. It's only really 1. Let's be honest.
Exactly right. Exactly.
It's called reptile math.
Exactly. It's one of those things where my wife, who you met, actually tells me if I can take care of it, I can have it. But
there we go.
She has to take care of it. I mean, now she's got her own pets. She's got micro squirrels. She's got turtles, tortoises, and she's got my daughter's pets. The hedgehog and several others to take care of, and our 2 puppies. So it's not like she doesn't have anything to do, but she's also got my daughter Abigail, who's probably sitting out there listening to us right now, but is a lot of work. So, anyways,
Mhm.
but it's those things. So back to the vendors. So you choose them wisely, and you're and what have you. I'll just shout out somebody else. Art by Michelle. I actually
Yes,
saw that.
I
I met them at
love
the
her
show.
and all the stuff that she brings. It
She
is
is so
beautiful pieces of
incredible.
work.
I have actually engaged her to create a portrait for my office wall for my personal office and at work. Just like because it's such good art, and
Oh
I
yeah.
won't describe it until she's done. She hasn't even sketched it out. I've created such a complicated thing that she's like, I'm thinking about it and doing that. And we bought something from her as well this time, but that's one of the places I got different things from. But so the fact that your Jackson place, is it a different type of situation? I know this one's more like our Columbus show here in Ohio,
Mhm.
where you have to go to the restrooms outdoors, or not outdoors, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a what do you call it, a fairground, which is a great
yeah.
place to put animals because they have fairs there and they bring
Mhm.
animals there all the time.
Yeah.
So, but is the Jackson one the same kind of thing, a fairground, or
So
is it
the
more of a building?
Jackson one is at the fairgrounds, but they just built like a really, really nice like event center just a handful of years ago, maybe even less. Honestly, I can't quite remember when they put it up, but very, very recent, very new building. It is absolutely beautiful. And unfortunately, the availability for that, like basically they're booked out for a couple years in advance.
Mhm.
So I was able to snatch up a few of the dates in order to, bring a show back, but it's definitely more ideal venue, just like appearance wise and everything. And it has the bathrooms inside, but I do really love this Saline,
They were very nice.
Oh yeah.
I went to them. I used them. They were very nice. It was a little
Oh yeah.
chillier than it was warmer inside than outside,
Yeah.
but it was a little chilly. But they were very nice. So it was one of those things. But
Yeah. Yep.
we got a lot of.
Every oh sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, just every venue is, just it's gonna be different no matter where you go. And it's just we just kind of deal with whatever differences there are as they come. So bathrooms are outside, but at least they're nice bathrooms. you know and I mean the venue itself, it's solid. It's, it might not be like super grand by any means, like, as far as like appearance wise, but I think it's still really a perfect spot for the show. Also, it offers the space that we need. We can get the dates that we need. It offers the vendors a lot of electrical hookups too, because you've seen that there was like posts going all the way down the building on each side, and every single post had an electrical box for it. So vendors did not have to worry about electric hookup whatsoever in that building, which was really nice.
I
So,
think this is the one picture I have. So that's
yep.
it shows all
Yeah.
the
So, in
different
every,
things, and there's electricity and what have you. So that's really neat. And good.
yeah.
Um,
Yep.
a few of the other
And,
pictures I have. I just chose these randomly off of my thing. So of course, veteran owned and veteran operated. I gotta support the
yeah,
military.
I like
William
that
Kernan,
quality over
he owns
Yeah,
that
not
one.
that I've ever been in it, but I support them. One of
Oh, yeah. So,
the strangest things in the corner was this lady selling springtails and other bugs. She also had um
oh, Jackie
silk
Rice. Yeah.
moss.
She's got the silkworms and the
Yeah,
silk
and
moss
she
and
had a
stuff.
bug on her head that was like sitting on her head. It was just
Oh
I
gosh.
got her
Oh,
brother
what
with
was
makeup,
that?
but
I
it was
always
something
I
like
always get a couple of them mixed up.
no, some kind of scorpion actually. I don't know if it was actually
Taylor
scorpion.
Swift, or oh gosh, I am not super
I
like,
don't even remember, but I just remember the
my
word scorpion.
knowledge on
It was like,
invertebrates is
ooh.
not
Mhm,
too high, I'll be honest. I know isopods and I know some spiders.
mhm,
Reptiles are more my flow there.
mhm. That's okay. That's not, you don't have to know. You just need to know that they're good in quality and
Yeah.
what you're doing so well.
That's what, I can spot issues and stuff like that a mile away, honestly. And that's the big thing, when it comes to these shows. I don't have to know every single species there is and whatnot, but I can at least pick out an animal that might not be doing too well, that might be, dehydrated or underfed or something. And that's the biggest thing, is making sure these animals are healthy when they come in.
All right, Tom, do you have any questions for Brandy?
How many vendors do you have at your show?
Usually around 50 to 55. But with this next upcoming show, I think we'll probably have closer to 80. So I'll have to double check what our list says, but we're well over 70.
Now, do you curate your vendors? Do you kind of have targets for, like, how many ball python people, how many spider people, how many axolotl people, or how do you curate your vendors?
So that's a really, really great question. There obviously is a lot of ball python breeders, right? So we do kind of have like a limit, on them, but we try to also reach out, to other vendors that might bring in more of a variety also. So basically, oh God, what is the best way to put this? Jared's really good at explaining stuff too. But so like basically the past show.
He doesn't have Wi-Fi or good Wi-Fi.
I know, he needs to have Wi-Fi.
I would actually say that
he's also very good at wording things a certain way, where I am like kind of more just straight to the point and blunt when I talk, where he can fluff things up more. So
I would say that having been at your show, there was a great deal of diversity. Not nearly as much as Tinley, except for you had a lot of other vendors. Tinley didn't have any other animals like other than reptiles. It didn't have any chickens. It didn't have any what am I trying to say? Rodents or anything else like that weren't for food. But you had all kinds of stuff.
yeah,
I mean, Tinley had art by Adeline Robinson art, which is like 5 different booths, but it didn't have a lot of different stuff. But it had mostly animals and mostly reptiles. So it, yours is a lot different than that. It's all over the place, and it actually is. It's, you say, exotic reptile, exotic animals. Expo. So it's fair to you. You don't even have to rely on everyone knowing that reptile means more than reptile. So
that's actually a really interesting subject too. So when we initially put like exotic animal expo, reptiles, they are exotic. We all know that, right? But it's funny because we've had people say, well, this isn't an exotic animal expo, it's a reptile expo. And it's like, well, reptiles are exotic animals, but we try to be more inclusive, because when we did the Jackson show and it was just called the Jackson Reptile Expo, we had vendors who didn't have reptiles, but they may have had like hedgehogs or sugar gliders or something like that. And they were hesitant to come to the show because they're like, well, is it only for reptiles? And I'm like, no, we accept all exotic animals within reason. Like, we're not gonna have like someone with, I don't know, a kangaroo or something, like, yeah, I don't know, like something crazy. Like, we're not gonna have anything like really crazy.
Someone brought a kangaroo. It was their personal pet, but they had it at their booth. So that's not even.
Like, yeah. But there's there's certain like rules and laws within the state that we also try to follow. So we allow certain animals there, within, like I said, within reason. We don't allow venomous animals because, well, that's a huge liability. And the insurance for that, like, we could never get an insurance company to even cover something like that because it's just considered too dangerous.
Only been to one show that allows venomous that they sell at, and that's the Pittsburgh Mega Show, which is actually not in Pittsburgh but a local area there. It's a 2-day show that, but they have venomous. They have them all in their containers. They have the containers taped up. Most of them had them far away from, so no one could just walk off with them. They had
kids grab. They have sticky fingers, so it's just like one of those things. Like, you know, like alligators and crocs and caimans. We don't allow that either at the show, and we did initially at the Jackson show, but to be honest, like both Jared and I also, okay, so let me backtrack. At Jackson, we allowed it until we decide, it's not something that most people even should have. Very select people can actually have the capabilities of properly caring for these animals. So, we ended up deciding like none of that at the show because those animals are beautiful. They are amazing, but they're not for everybody, and too many of them just end up thrown out basically and mistreated or let go. And the more and more of that happens, the more likely we're going to have a lot more laws in place regarding exotic animals. And that's, something we also tend to think about is what can we do to minimize potential situations that could stem from our expo, right? So we don't allow certain things at the expo due to that because we don't want any blame to be placed on the show. And, we all know people like to blame.
Ohio has several laws against those type of creatures, so you have to have permits.
And see, like Saline, the Washtenaw area actually has laws regarding crocodilians and hots. They are not allowed in the area, so obviously we don't allow them there for that reason too. So, but yeah.
Are there any vendors that you would really like to have come to your show?
Oh goodness. I'm gonna draw a blank now.
Or a certain
You
type
put
of
me on the
animal.
spot. I'm gonna draw a blank.
Yeah. Or like a certain type of animal, or maybe you've had trouble getting people to
Honestly, I think just more of the like hard to find species. Like we had Jennifer the guys there with Pat's Creature Cave, and she brought in some micro geckos, and I thought that was a really cool aspect because it added more to the variety that we have there, and I thought they were awesome. I love geckos, any and all geckos. I've got like 8 different kinds, right? So I thought that was really cool. But oh gosh, I think Marshall Arachnids was another really cool vendor that I love to have there, but they moved from Michigan as we were starting up the Jackson show. So unfortunately, they're just a little too far away now, but they have like really cool like enclosures that they have, that they make and, they have designed and sell and stuff like that. And they have just some like really cool aspects to, what they can bring, but
You have Josh Frogs there, so I would need to see that Josh Frogs was actually at your expo.
Yes, Josh's Frogs was there. So they were able to bring some of the dart frogs and more amphibians and stuff like that, which was really awesome too. And they can bring more, the dry goods and stuff like that too. So like the soil and stuff, and they bring some plants too that you can decorate the bioactive terrariums and stuff with. And yeah, that's really cool. Another one is, oh goodness, Lovely Little Things, if I'm remembering their name correctly. There's a lot of people to remember, a lot of names for businesses to remember too. They bring plants and stuff like that, and they set up like little terrariums, and I think it's really, really cool too. And a lot of our vendors just bring just really good quality to the show. So honestly, I can't ask for too much more, I'd love
even your rat and frozen mice and frozen rat vendor, Rat Fillet, they have a machine that actually vacuum seals their bags. So it's full quality. You tear the one end off, and it's got a re-zipping thing, and they vacuum seal the other end, and so you don't have to seal them and don't have to worry about all these Ziploc bags. They're a lot better quality. So I'm buying all my rats, and they have every size. They have everything from like what do they call the smallest ones? The oh wow, it's slipping my mind. The smallest mice and what have you. The not the fun pinky mice. They have small, medium, and large pinkies even. It's like, and then you go to fuzzies, and they go through everything. Then you go to rats, and they go from smallest rats to the biggest rat. Like 10 different options along the way, so you can feed almost anything with that. So it's really neat.
Yeah, if you're looking for Frozen, they are the person to go to. Their prices are great, their packaging is great, and like they take really amazing care of their rodents and stuff like that too. So like you know that you're getting quality feeders for your animals from them.
He told me that he spent almost 60 grand on the machine to package those things. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
and it's food quality. He used to be in the food
Wow.
industry. So I don't know if he
Mhm.
bought it for the food industry and just used it for his mice once he got out of it, or what the story is. But I couldn't get him to come on. At some point I wanted to have him on one of these. And he's like, I'm shy. I'm like, you're not shy. You're not shy. It's a show. But I don't know why people say they're shy and what have you. But he's
I
a
know when
good
I
friend.
get on See, I know when I'm like in this situation, my mind starts going blank as I'm trying to explain stuff. I was like, oh gosh, don't mess up, please.
That's why we
It's like
should
I
do
get
a podcast with you, because when you do a podcast, you can have those moments, and then we just cut them because they're recorded. You can just cut that out, and no one will ever know. Right, Tom?
I have a
We did a
funny
podcast together.
That's
I had a
right.
lot of screw ups on it. I don't think he had any, but Tom is an expert. He does his own live show and what have you. So he can just go on and on. I would just try not to screw it up. So, but podcast.
I know. I feel like I might word something the way I don't mean to word it, and it comes off like it sounds bad. You know, I'm just like, this is not what I mean. Please, I'm just a little nervous.
You're doing great. You're doing really good, and you're telling us all kinds of new stuff and exciting stuff. So and being
Yeah.
half my age, literally, I at your age,
Oh, Sean,
I was what in
you're ancient.
I was in the end of medical school, I guess. But
Mhm.
anyway,
Sean, we've got a good comment in the chat from Annabalistic.
okay. I got a bug that's flying around my. You can't see. It's like tiny, like a little micro something or other. But Annabalistic.
Says she loves buying plants at expos.
Right.
And I've heard people say like plants are hot right now at Reptile.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
That's what's selling.
I
Yep.
have.
I'm actually starting up a plant expo too next
Really?
year over in Mason, which is just south of Lansing. So that's in the works.
Wow, that's
Wow.
cool. Because I've gone
Yeah.
to a lot of because you get to doing reptiles or other exotic animals, and plants are the next thing you have to learn. So I actually have a place. What is it called? It's one of those shops that gets things really cheap, but they buy plants and they sell them in what now? My wife. Buyer's Outlet. My wife is screaming from the background. It's good that she's listening. Buyer's Outlet that just has plants. It has pothos. It has Zebrina, Transcendentia Zebrina, which is the one that's safe for other. And they have pothos.
Yeah.
They have all chaflera and all kinds of plants, all different sizes. And they're like a
Mhm.
quarter of the price of all the other stores that I see them at. So I have to,
Oh
it's
wow.
dangerous to go in there because I'll take all these,
Yeah.
but no, it's awesome. But not everybody has that kind of thing because this is just a Cleveland
Yeah.
area, like into Cleveland a little bit. So
Yeah.
but
And like I know this is totally off topic from the reptile show, but that's kind of like my thought is, we can get a lot of like local people to do like the exotic indoor plants and stuff like that. And I kind of put some feelers out like on Facebook, and I had an overwhelming amount of responses like, yeah, I would do that. I got so many like cuttings and clones and stuff like that. I was like, okay, cool. Now we just got to get some like nurseries to jump in and sell the outdoor plants and stuff like that. So
you have
it's in the
two
works.
comments from you, Brandy. You've got Chris from Zev Green's Reptiles saying that you're doing great, and Eliza
I'm
Ann,
joking.
one of our. They're both two of our most frequent flyers here, except for Tom, who went so far as not to just be here. But he even switched his days so I could go to Wednesday, and he took Thursday for me so that we could have two shows.
Oh,
But,
that's nice.
yes, but we're all disciples of Bill Strand a little bit. I was
No, yeah.
with Bill Strand for a while, and Two Turtle Tom started and the whole thing, and it's just one of those roads that I don't know what call it a road. I call it a what is it? I'm not thinking of the right words, but a way of a group of different people who follow each other. But Anyways, see, now I'm messed up. See,
Hey, it's
cult?
okay.
No, just
a
kidding.
what? A cult?
I'm
I'm
Cult.
surprised my stutter hasn't come out, to be honest. Like, I deal with migraines like chronically, and it affects my speech at times. So I'm really surprised I haven't been stuttering.
You're doing
That-
great, Brandy.
That is actually
Yeah, I
something
appreciate that.
I've had a couple people who stutter on the podcast, and I didn't even know they were stuttering when I was recording it. But then when I'm reviewing it, like slowly and looking and cutting different parts, and then I know, wow, they're stuttering. And then I notice I started stuttering. I'm like, oh my, what the heck? And so, and then it's the fest sometimes when one person says and then another person starts saying and then every other word is and I have to cut all those things out. It's like it's terrible.
Sweetie,
But
all the time when I'm talking, I'm just like, yeah, I was like, gosh, why can't I just speak?
but I also face migraines with inability to recall things. I don't know that I stutter as much, but I just have inability to recall things, and I've got actually much better with my migraines since I changed my diet because I don't know if I told you this before. Tom knows, but I had a stroke about August 1st, August 2nd of 2022, 22, yeah, 22. And so I lost the use of my right arm and most of my right leg and had a little bit of speech trouble. But I recovered amazingly. I mean, I could use my arm any way I want.
Awesome.
And I was lucky to start with. And I could walk very well. And it was riding a bike was not the way they say. It's just like riding a bike because I was starting on my right leg and had to learn to start on my left leg. But now I'm back. But no, it's just ever since then my diet's changed and my migraines went away. I don't know exactly if it had anything to do with either one of them, but I don't recommend having a stroke for any of those reasons. Not to learn to diet on your own, learn to get better, learn to have all kinds of other positivity. But it did work out in the end well for me. So
yeah,
so.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you're doing much better too. Like,
thank you.
You know, that's a really like hard thing to go through. So
it was a challenge, but also a lot of good things came of it. I know, like my daughter Abigail's in the wheelchair who doesn't speak, and we thought, what would she be? You know, how would she handle? But she is like tremendous. Everybody knows her. She was like the most. I wouldn't say popular is probably the wrong word. The most well-known kid in her high school because everybody knew Abigail. Yeah. And so she graduated last year. But we would be in a grocery store. We would be in a different place, and people would be, "Hey, Abby!" And all the parents like, "Don't point at the little girl in the wheelchair." And they're like, "No, please do recognize her. If you recognize her, call her out. You know, she loves to be shouted out." Anyways, I digress. Awesome. So, Tom, any other thoughts or questions for Brandy?
Well, yeah, one more question.
Yeah.
How far will your vendors typically travel to come to your show? Is there kind of like a distance?
I know some of them come from a couple hours away, and I want to say we even had someone come from like almost 4 hours away one time to try the show out. They were more of a unique vendor. Like they didn't have reptiles, so like they ended up not coming back, but it's okay. But I mean, like, I'm really appreciative that they still came out and tried the show. You know, it was really cool to have them, and just like knowing people are willing to travel that far. I will say I had someone from like West Virginia that wants to come and try out the show, and I just got to figure out if we have like an available opening for him the next show, and then he's gonna come and try out the show too. And it's like a 9-10 hour drive at least. I don't know where exactly he's coming from in West Virginia, but
you know what he's vending or
I believe it's ball pythons.
Okay, that's unusual, you know. But you really didn't have, I mean, you had a few ball python vendors, but you didn't have a ton of them. It wasn't like many shows.
Yeah, we do try to keep spots open. Just like a handful of spots open for vendors who you know, who've been kind of like inquiring, because basically we have a wait list of people too. And if you know, if a spot opens up, basically if our vendors, like, because right now the demand is so high for the show that our vendors have to prepay in order to hold a spot for the next show. And whoever, you know, like whatever spots are available after the prepayment, like we'll reach out to the people on our waiting list for it. And a
Where's
lot
your
of we're getting a
microscope?
huh?
I'm sorry. Jen's in here with
Are
microscopes.
those dormice?
Yeah, dormice. Yes.
Cute.
Microscopes. Was this is this the both babies or these one of the parent?
That's one of the parents.
Okay, it's one of the parents who's peeing all over the laptop. So we'll get rid of her. We'll get rid of him. Oh yeah, so there's poop on my arm. So
Those would make great feeders for my African tortoises.
No.
Those are very expensive feeders.
They're Tom. I guess we won't tell you what you can do with them, but I think the price line is a little bit over the most that I would pay for feeders. But
I just thought of something. So it's known within our vendors currently, but we're starting up a program to help facilitate captive breeding of animals that are almost like always wild caught. We believe that, you know, how do I want to word this? Like, we believe that captive breeding and trying to lessen the demand for wild caught animals is basically, you know, the best thing that we can do in the industry, you know, instead of constantly taking animals from the wild. And this is nothing on importers. I'm not, you know, without importers, we wouldn't have the animals we have today, right? But there is, you know, at some point, and this is something me and my co-organizer have been talking about, we feel at some point the importation is going to it's going to stop at some point. You know, whether that's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're not going to be able to get these animals that are available now. So we're starting up a program where we will choose a vendor at the end of each year who is working on captive breeding some sort of species that, you know, like I said, is almost always wild caught. And the minimum is $1,000 grant to help further the breeding program.
That is awesome. Because we're always talking
it's a small step. It's not like huge as of right now, but you know, it can give that extra boost to be able to help a breeder out that's trying to achieve something like that's amazing, you know. So
that's what we talk about always on the show. We're always talking about the wild caughts and you know, captive born creatures are always easier to take care of. They don't have a lot of the problems that other ones do. And there have been, you know, just in the 20 or 30, or I guess 35 years that I've been around animals and had the unusual ones other than cats and dogs. There have been many that have been and come and gone, and they're just not available anymore. Even my quadricornis, which I actually have one quadricornis male that's one subspecies and one that's a female that's another subspecies. And every day I look at them and go, they're getting older, but I'm just not going to breed the two together because that's not kosher in the particular group. So, and I'm still going to maybe go to Europe because quadricornis don't come over here anymore because they're not allowed to be exported. So there are some quads in Europe, and I know the guy who has them, and hopefully he's going to send them to me next summer or this summer coming up, but we'll see. Let's hope that's
so cool.
Yes, that would be cool, but you know, you never count your chickens until they're actually hatched. So I guess you never.
I've learned that.
Anyways, that's really cool.
But, you know, it's something that, you know, that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's just like, hey, Jared, I'm like, what if we do something like this? You know, I was just like, I think it would be a really cool and unique feature to our show because, as far as I know, there's no other shows that does that. You know, they don't have grants for their vendors to be able to push like a breeding program. And I was just like, you know, I might not be breeding like animals right now, but I do have some red-eyed crocodile skinks that we are, you know, going to start a breeding program in Michigan for. Like Jared's working on it, I'm working on it, but you know, there's so many other animals that, you know, we should, we could see more of in, the industry if there's more people working on breeding them and stuff like that. So, because,
Bill's
like you, huh?
Bill Strand, one of the co-hosts usually here, he's working on chameleon breeding and small brats breeding. So we're figuring
Okay.
out how to breed a little bit, just have 1 or 2 breeders and different people that exchange and what have you. So it's those are kind of the things that we talk about. But it's really cool, those kind of issues that
Yeah.
we look into that and we figure it out. But all right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
like,
that's an
I mean,
awesome idea, Brandy.
Pardon me?
like one. Sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's an awesome idea. I specialize in hingeback tortoises, 2 species that have been long
Okay.
imported for decades.
Yeah.
And, me and a few people are working together to produce them in captivity, finally. But yeah, traditionally you could get them for 50, 60 bucks. And they're still imported today. So yeah,
Yeah.
encouraging people to work with new species is awesome. And then having some
Mhm.
financial incentive to do it is just, that's a novel idea.
Yeah, I
And
mean, a
it should
big
be
issue is,
celebrated.
yep, I mean, you can get the animals, like, so imports, you can get them so cheap. And that's kind of like, I feel like that's a big reason why there's not more breeders of certain species, is because, like, why breed them? Why put all the time into them if someone can sell it for half of what I can sell it for? Because when you have some, like, investment into an animal, like, the animal has a lot more value to it, right? Versus something that just comes in straight from the wild. There's not, like, someone doesn't have, like, a lot invested into them, so it's like they don't have to mark the price up for them. And I feel like that's something that kind of keeps a lot of breeders back from trying to do something like that, because they might be undercut by someone else. And it's, like, do you get what I mean? I mean, sorry, I'm not
Absolutely.
great at wording things,
I mean,
No,
but
we're trying to sell little baby hingeback tortoises for 4 to 5 times what you can buy in imported.
yeah, and it's hard because if you're selling it for that and someone is selling a wild caught baby for a fraction of the price, like, it can be, it's intimidating. It's like, is it worth it in the end to do this? And it's like, in the end, it absolutely is worth it, because you're helping not only, like, hopefully in the future, slow down the need for wild caught animals, but you're creating stronger, healthier lines of these animals and stuff like that, because they're not going through the constant stress that they would be through the importation process, because that takes a lot out on an animal. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. They can get sick really easily through the stress. When an animal's under stress, their immune system is down, so they're more susceptible to a parasite overload. They're more susceptible to picking up diseases, and respiratory issues and all of that. And, thankfully, the breeders, the importers that I have at the show, they have a process with their animals, and they make sure that they are going good several weeks prior to even coming to the show. And I really appreciate that aspect on them, because they want to make sure their animals are doing good before they go into someone else's hands that might not be as experienced. But if we can have these animals that are captive bred and strong straight from the start, that's even better, if that's a possibility.
all right. Any final thoughts, Brandy?
I don't know.
You don't have to have a
Um,
final thought. It's just an opportunity for you to do one
Thank
last
you.
thing.
Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm glad you enjoyed your time at the show too, and it was really nice meeting you, Tom. So,
All right. Final thoughts, Tom? Okay, I'm sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Tom, final thoughts?
Thanks, Sean. I really enjoyed learning about the show. I'll have to make it up there sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's a good time.
Yeah. Thanks for both of you being here. Tom's a little further to south, but maybe another 20 or 30 minutes from my place. But
Yeah.
and next week is going to be Valentine's Day, and I'm going to be on the road, but I'm still going to put on a show. I think it's going to be, I actually know it's going to be about the Reptarium and our trip there. I'll put all the stuff together, and wherever I can stop, because this new software allows me to even do it from my phone if I have to. Bill's going to be back
Yeah.
hopefully next week. And thanks everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. And to the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call yourselves, if you do exist, I'll join. Leave me alone. We'll be okay. I'll stop talking about them. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Bye.